G'day and welcome to Become the Teapot. I'm Iain.
And core blimey, so am I. And this here is a podcast about comic books and their adaptations.
And as you can tell by our pitch perfect Cockney accents, this week we're talking about The Boys, Season 1.
Struth, me old mucker, that's right. And also the first 14 issues of the comic book by Garth, Ennis and Darick Robertson.
Right, is that all for the intro?
Yeah, I think so.
How was my butcher voice?
Diabolical. The Boys, Season 1. So, preamble. The Boys is an Amazon Prime show set in a world where superheroes are real and they're more or less a bunch of awful people. But that's okay because the boys are on hand to, quote-unquote, spank them. And they're also kind of awful people, but they're less awful than the supers, so that's okay. Iain, what did you think of The Boys Season 1?
The Boys Season 1. I thought it was really bloody good. Bloody excellent.
You can stop the quasi-Australian Cockney voice now.
I can't help it.
It's weird because he's a Kiwi, but when he does Cockney, he comes out Australian. It's odd.
Yeah, oh well. I like this take on if soups were real. Of course, you'd have companies that were trying to make cash off them, you know, films, theme parks, whatever. And yeah, I believe they would have to sweep some stuff under the rug.
Yep.
Because, yeah, not everyone's perfect. And it's the idea that in our world, I guess, this is kind of like the film stars, reality TV kind of people. Mm-hmm. You get stuff in the paper that's real or fake, but they try and hide away all the dirty stuff and the stuff that people shouldn't hear about.
Yeah, there's been decades of covering up Hollywood filth and dirt and, you know, all sorts of heinous stuff. So, yeah, it's not a million miles away to believe that if superheroes were real, they would have to do that for them as well.
Have you, well, I'm assuming you've watched this before. Is this your second time of watching it?
This is, yeah. I watched both seasons of The Boys as they came out, and I enjoyed them. But if I'm being honest, I wasn't particularly enthusiastic about revisiting them.
Okay.
Part of me just, I don't know, maybe it's because I don't particularly enjoy rewatching series as anyway, seasons of programs, because it's a time commitment that I don't have and would rather be watching new things. But also, part of me was just wondering if I'd enjoy it as much the second time around, knowing what was going to happen, etc. But, you know, I'm happy to say, yeah, this is my second watch, and I was proved wrong. I think within the first episode, I was fully back in, and I ended up binging about 5 of the 8 episodes in one sitting. So, yeah, no, I think it does hold up to rewatches. I really enjoy it. We will go on to the comics later, but I think what the show does well is it gives each of the characters, particularly the superheroes, a lot more focus.
Yes.
And it makes it much more of an ensemble piece. And as such, it makes you like them more, or maybe not. It makes them more sympathetic, maybe not. Hold on a second.
More human, but
more human,
they're
yeah.
suits.
I think this is it. Even if they're not sympathetic necessarily, they're certainly more understandable. So yeah, no, I did enjoy it. And this is, my second time watching it. How about yourself?
Yeah, no, same. I watched it when it first came out. Same with season 2. And I'll do the same with season 3. This is the first time Kate's seen it.
All right.
So I quite liked what I enjoyed going back to see it myself.
Yeah.
But also enjoyed her comments or her reactions to things that were happening. And I try and keep shush of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Or if she's like, oh, well, that person will die, I don't tend to go, oh, will he not? Oh, we'll find out. Like, I just don't say that sort of stuff because it's not helpful.
That doesn't sound like you at all.
Like there was one bit, I don't know what episode it was, but A-Train hugs Homelander.
Yeah.
Because he finds out about Compound V or something or whatever. And Kate's like, uh-oh, you know, like that feeling of he's going to have his neck snapped.
Yeah.
But he didn't. But yeah, I think it is worth to go back, especially because I pick up on things that I'd not quite seen or for shadowing that kind of go, oh, I like that because I know what's going to happen in a couple episodes.
You rewatch things quite habitually though, don't you?
I do, yeah.
You're rewatching Supernatural at the moment, for instance, and you've rewatched quite a few series. I just don't tend to. I haven't done it for a long time. And if I do rewatch TV series, it tends to be shorter things. You know, I used to watch Spaced and Black Books and you know, sitcoms like that I'd watch multiple times, but long American dramas like this, where each series is, or each season is 8 to 10 hour investment, I just don't tend to go back and rewatch them.
Yeah, I think sometimes with me, it depends how many times I've seen it, but if I have watched a season 2 or 3 times, and like there's those days where I'm really tired and just want something on, and even if I fall asleep or not, I know what's going to happen.
Right.
So it's that kind of thing that I don't have to pay too much attention if I've seen it 2 or 3 times.
You just sort of put it on and, you put it on the background and you can do other things as well, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I tend to do things like podcasts and real play, YouTube channel, D&D things and stuff like that. That's what I tend to use for that. So I don't go back and rewatch stuff, but it's the same sort of thing. It's background noise, really, rather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, the boys.
Yes, we should probably talk about that. So,
I love the opening scene. The very, very first scene that we see. It's a hell of a way to bring you into this world. The death of Huey's partner.
Yes.
And it's literally like, right, okay, it's that kind of show. Just straight in there.
Yeah, I think these mission statements that you need at the beginning of a show like this is to really let people know whether it's going to be for them or not. It's a scene with gore and violence and sort of a callous disregard for life. And it sets the scene well of what we're dealing with. Yeah.
I don't know who you would necessarily class as the main character. I don't know whether it would be Huey or Butcher. In my eyes, it's Huey.
Yeah.
Because he's the new one.
Yeah.
And often the new one's the main character. The same with the 7. You've got, what's her name? Starlight.
Yes. No, certainly with the comic book, I would say it was Huey. I think, as I said, the TV show makes it a little bit more ensemble-based, but I would still probably consider Huey the main character because he is your audience surrogate, as it were, this introduction to the world of superheroes and the boys. He is the one who gets things explained to him, so he tends to be your eyes and ears as the viewer.
Which, first time I watched this, when it first came out, I didn't realise that he was the son of Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan.
He is, yeah, Jack Quaid.
I mean, the last name should have been a bit of a tip.
Yeah, it would have given it away, yeah.
I mean, as you said about the characters overall, there is a lot of character arcs in this, and you see them grow. You know, I'm talking about the boys and I'm talking about the 7. Well, actually, should we sort of do a little quick character rundown of the boys to start off with?
Yeah, let's do the boys to start off with because there's a lot of characters here. So, go for it.
Well, you got Huey.
You do.
So actually, he's the new guy. He's the eyes and the ears, like you said. He's the one that's brought into this, or almost sort of like forced into it almost. And he's been tricked. So he thinks that he's working with this
FBI, yeah.
The FBI. The FBI, not yet. So he thinks he's doing good. And then he realises very early on, sort of end of episode 1, actually, you're not the FBI. You've been lying to me. It's like, yeah, well, you're part of this now, so help out.
Yeah.
All right, fine.
But then in episode 2, he does make a conscious decision whether to participate or not, and he makes that decision of his own volition. So
yeah,
this is it. He's a little bit tricked at the beginning and then has to decide whether he's in or out and makes that decision in the second episode.
I would say that him and Butcher are quite similar in certain ways. They both lost someone for soup reasons.
Yeah.
They want to do the right thing, but it's clear that Huey's being corrupted and Butcher wants him to hate Soups as much as he does.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. I think Butcher sees someone like him in Huey. And like you say, he's trying to sort of morph him to be more like him. It gives a good dynamic to those two characters. You know, you've got someone who's obviously made it his whole life's mission to get revenge. I think, can't remember how many years they said it had been since his partner had disappeared in the show. But
About 8.
8 years, yeah, something like that. And obviously that's been eating him up this whole time. It creates that interesting dynamic between the two and how two people respond to grief. And you do wonder what Huey would have done if Butcher hadn't have stepped in, if Huey would have just gone back to, like his dad said, you know, not fighting and just wallowing.
Wow, talking about Billy Big Balls Butcher, as I like to call him. I mean, yeah, he's a horrible person. Somewhere deep down he does care. But he's an absolute prick. He's a twat. He's a C word that I will not say on the podcast.
He's all the words he throws around for other people,
Yeah.
isn't he? Yeah, no, he is. The thing is, he's sort of charismatic in a fashion. He's very likable, but his actions are terrible. But, you know, you can see why someone might follow him.
Yeah, there's one thing that I do love about him, and that is he gives the best speeches ever. That Spice Girls speech, bloody hilarious. Is like, when they're on their own, they can't do anything. when they're together, they're the fucking Spice Girls. Yeah, it's so funny. And you kind of think, where's this speech going? And then the end of it, you're like, well, now I want to join the boys.
Or the Spice Girls, yeah, one or the other.
I want to be a Spice Girl.
Other members of the team, you've also got then Frenchie.
Mm-hmm. Crazy but sweet.
Yeah, essentially that's his role here, which is kind of his role in the comic book as well. You've got Mother's Milk.
Mm-hmm.
MM, who's OCD.
Yep.
I don't know what his role on the team is. Sort of second in command, I suppose. Organisational.
Yeah, you kind of feel that when he's there without Butcher, he's the one they go to, or he's the one that is put in charge.
Yeah. He seems to be logistics, that sort of position. Is he can make things happen for Butcher. But, I like him.
I do quite like him and Frenchie, the way they talk to each other. It's like children that have been friends for years, but they hate each other, but they don't really.
Yeah.
I think deep down they do care about each other, but those childish comebacks and the name callings, and there is history there with what happened with Frenchie and someone's kids, but I'm not really going to go into
Mallory.
that. Yeah, you need to watch the show. But yeah, so there is a reason there for the hatred, but I think they can probably look past it because of all the other horrible things that they have done together.
Yeah. And then lastly, you've got introduced in the show about halfway through the series, the female.
Yes, or Kimiko.
Yes, we give her a name. I'm not sure she has that name in the comic book, but yes, Kimiko.
Not the one that we read, no.
So, straying dangerously, as she is in the comic book, into the silent Asian protagonist badass trope that we have touched on in this podcast before. I can't remember the exact episode, but she does a good job with what she's given, I feel, but she is very much the badass Asian fighter who doesn't say much.
Yeah, the actress does a really good job of that quiet look. So I don't know whether she's really scared or she will tear your face off. She can flick really quickly and really easily. And again, like we said, she's got a bit of character progression in the first season.
Yeah.
Well, I say first season. She comes into it episode 4 of 8, so about half a season.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she does learn to trust the boys, especially Frenchie.
Yeah.
And you do see that she comes out of her shell a lot more, and you get little glimpses into her past.
Yeah. But whatever you do, I suggest you don't get killed by her. She played Katana in Suicide Squad.
Oh, I thought I recognised her, but I wasn't confident enough to bring that up.
Yeah, no, so she was in another comic book adaptation before, and she played another more or less mute Asian badass.
Oh, well, there you go.
I feel that this is a better role than that, at least.
Mm-hmm. Should we move on to the 7?
Yes, let's talk about some of the 7. So, who do you want to talk about first? I'm guessing Homelander.
Yeah, may as well go straight into Homelander. Yeah. So he's put across as being, he's hope, he's America, he's sunshine, he's baseball, he's all these wholesome things.
He's Superman.
Yeah, he is 100% fake. All of that wholesome apple pie crap, it's all the media, it's all Vought trying to make this hero perfect. Which he's not.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, because he was completely maladjusted.
Yeah. The words that I've used to describe him is charmingly terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. The sort of duality there of someone who he sort of does that facial drop that he does when he's on stage and he's smiling and he's doing the charismatic speeches. And then on a dime, he goes dead behind the eyes and his face drops. And there's something scary about that, is this idea that someone can just be so false that... Yeah. It is like an on-off switch of charisma. But yeah, obviously, we know as the audience the truth of what a sort of awful person he is, but you can see why he might be followed and adored by the public. Mm-hmm. It stretches that credulity a little bit in the second series, I felt, but that's another podcast. So who else you got on the 7?
The Deep.
The Deep?
The Deep, to me, is one of the most interesting characters of the 7. Like I said... I've seen before, Kate hadn't. So the very first scene where he meets Starlight, there's that inappropriate sexual assault pretty much.
Yes, yeah.
So she's there going, oh God, that's disgusting, which yes, it is, and I'm not trying to say it's not disgusting at all because it is.
Are you trying to say it's okay?
No, I'm not.
Is that what you're saying?
Not in any way at all. But what I'm saying is by the end of the show, end of the series, I feel bad for the guy.
Yeah.
You kind of learn that he's the butt of the jokes. He's the Aquaman. He can talk to fish. Mm-hmm. He's the one where he has no power at all in the team.
Yeah.
And then you see that as his character arc continues, he's shipped off somewhere all alone and he ends up shaving his head and he's like, oh, wow, he's really going through something there. It's no excuse for what happened.
No.
That's what I'm saying. But this is what we were saying about how they can take these characters and kind of, you make them more human in a way.
Yeah.
That you feel bad for it. I feel weird that I feel bad for him because of what happened at the start.
Well, I think this is okay. I mean, I think making characters that are understandable in their crappy actions, even if you can't sympathise with them. You know, like you say, he saw a person entering the Seven with less power than him, and he thought he could then shit down the way that everyone else does on him. The more you delve into that character, the more you realise why he does what he does. I think that's really interesting. As you say, it doesn't excuse anything whatsoever. He's still an absolute shitty person, as are all of the Seven and most of the boys, but it makes them more understandable. Yeah. Anyone else?
You got A-Train, the Flash, pretty much.
Yep.
As the viewers or the listeners can tell, as we're going down the list of the Seven, you've got the DC counterparts.
Yes,
Superman, Aquaman, the Flash, which A-Train... I mean, I don't quite feel bad for him in season 1. I know his arc goes off a little bit in season 2.
Yeah.
But he's just a bit of a prick to me. He wants to be the best. And to be the best, he needs to take performance-enhancing drugs.
Yeah, super steroids.
Yeah. And then he's going out with a D-lister.
Yeah.
Popclaw. Which obviously he wants to keep hidden away and all this sort of stuff. But I don't know, I think they've tried to make him sympathetic. But to me, it comes across a bit 2D, a bit flat.
Yeah, I get that. I think they did the same thing they did with some of the other characters. Is like you say, they make him do bad things, but then give him a sort of a moment of sadness about it, where they just look, oh, I've just killed someone, but I'm going to look sad about it for a little bit. And it's like, well, you know, that's not really, you know, it doesn't excuse actions, and there's not enough, I feel, with A-Train in the first series to truly justify it.
Yeah.
It doesn't help that he is the first Supe we see doing these completely irresponsible things, and it also doesn't help that his character, his personality type is one of someone who is extremely self-absorbed, and that makes them immediately unlikable.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's difficult, but I do think they try to restore that a little bit in the second series, but I don't think all characters have to be sympathetic. I think they can be awful people just with a reason for why they're awful, as opposed to any real reason to try and justify or redeem them. They don't have to have a redemption arc. They can just be awful.
Yeah.
But the one character that had changed a lot from the comic books and was a lot more sympathetic in the TV show is Queen Maeve.
Yes. She doesn't really get much play in the comic.
Not the ones we read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's there. She's part of the team. I can't really think of a standout point in the comic that I go, oh yeah, she did help or she was involved in that. But anyway, yeah, go on. What's your views on Queen Maeve?
Well, I just find it, they made her almost out and out a likeable character. You know, she is the one who is sort of put upon in the team and is sort of witnessing all these bad things but doesn't rock the boat. They're showing her being sad about them, but she's never shown to do anything herself that is evil. She sort of makes that decision in the moment on the plane, for instance, but that is about as bad as her moments get. But she's a party to all this sort of villainous activity. She's a willing participant because it continues her stake within the team. But I think in the comic book, she's more an out-and-out hedonist. She is, you know, enjoying her role in that team, even if it's self-destructive. But I don't know. I feel that they just made her a lot more sympathetic in the TV show than she was in the comic book.
Yeah, I think she starts off in the show as someone who does not care or has gone past caring. And about halfway through, you start seeing those points where she's like, don't know if I can cover this up anymore. I don't think I can be part of this team anymore, but I can't leave because if I leave, it's going to cause more hassle or it's going to be more destruction than if I stayed. Yeah. Oh, and also, she's the Wonder Woman of the group.
She is indeed.
Didn't say that. And then the other one we've got is Translucent.
Yes.
Who's not in the comic, not in the team anyway.
Not at all. No, yeah, he's not. And he's not in the TV show much.
Well, yeah. Even if he was there, you probably can't see him.
I think he's a funny character. There's a lot of good jokes about his invisibility. He's a perv, but also all of the jokes about translucent doesn't mean
invisible.
It means semi-transparent. It's funny. And then the fight scenes with an invisible man are always humorous, you know. So there's some good jokes to be used in, but not much of a character in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
And not really an allegory for one of the seven, really, because, again, he was created for the show, not for the comic.
I mean, the only one that I could really think about was Martian Manhunter, but I don't know why that came to mind. He can change his appearance. I don't know.
I think it's because the comic book has a Martian Manhunter stand-in, whereas Translucent is the stand-in for that character in the comic book.
Right. Okay.
So, as I say, he's not in the comic.
Mm-hmm.
But someone who is in the comic is Black Noir.
Black Noir. The Batman, I assume.
Yes, the Batman character.
The Dark Knight. The Black Dark. Whatever his name is.
It means black, doesn't
Black. Weirdly, one of my favourite characters of the Seven. I just love how he doesn't speak. I love how he kicks ass and he plays the piano. A mix of things that when you put them together, you wouldn't think would work, but they do.
Yeah, I mean, he's this sort of presented as being the sort of martial artist, knife throwing, but he obviously has superpowers, unlike Batman in the comic. But yeah, he is a strong, silent, lurking presence, but not given a lot to do in the first series, especially. A couple of fight scenes here and there. But yeah, any more characters you want to cover, or shall we move on to the comic book and see how it differs?
Yeah, one last character we've danced around is Starlight.
Oh, yeah.
The new girl.
Of course.
Star Girl, if you will.
Yep.
From the comics. Yeah, so again, like we said, she's the new character of the Seven, like Huey's the new character of the boys. So you got two groups with two characters that are new. So you can be introduced to both groups very well without it being a bit on the nose.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were saying that the female, not her first role in comic book shows or films. Same with this person. Not too sure what her name is, but she was in this first season of Jessica Jones. She was controlled by Kilgrave, was saved by Jessica, and then she killed her parents. Oh, hashtag spoiler.
Yeah, I remember. That was really awful. Yeah, she had a terrible time in that show. Yeah, no, there's no redemption to that. And I think she's good here. And I think I like that contrast of two relatively innocent characters entering into a darker world on both sides of things and becoming corrupted and also stronger by their sort of exposure to the underbelly of things. Yeah, no, I think she does a really good job, and I really like the dynamic between her and Huey. I think they've got a believable relationship.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for those kids.
You can do it. I believe in you. Anyway, shall we compare them to the comic book counterparts?
We probably should. So, The Boys issues 1 to 14, which is the first volume of the trade paperbacks, is a comic book by Garth Ennis and Darick Robertson. Much like the TV show, it's about a group of people who step in to take down corrupt superheroes when they step out of line. Unlike the show, however, they are assisted by the CIA a bit more openly, and they are also assisted by Compound V superpowers.
Yeah. Woo.
In their mission. So they too have amped up, which I think is something I'm right in saying is displayed in the season 3 trailer.
I believe it is, yes.
So we might be going in that direction for the show, but we're not here to talk about that season. We're here to talk about season 1 and the comic book. So what did you think of the comic book, The Boys?
So I thought the show was dark and seedy. The comic is worse.
Yeah.
The only comic that I can kind of compare it to is Wanted.
Yeah.
In a way that you take out the very, very heavy sexual content of Wanted and it would fit right into this.
But that's on display here as well, that sort of sexual content.
Yeah. Like we said about that scene with Deep and Starlight in the show, that happens in the comic, but effectively it's Homelander and A-Train and Black Noir. And you kind of think, that's a bit overkill. And it also just comes out of nowhere. And it doesn't seem that these characters have a redemption arc. No. Or what we read anyway. They could be down the line somewhere.
They're a lot less sympathetic, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. There's too much going on, I think, in the comic. The first volume covers about 4 story arcs.
Something like that, yeah.
Roughly.
Yeah, I think so. Some of them shorter, some of them longer.
Yeah. I think, really, if I was to read it before or have some information about it, I might have just said to read the first couple of arcs. Because the last arc, they go to Russia and they meet up with the sausage man, whatever his name is.
The Love Sausage.
That's his name.
Who appears in series 2.
Yeah.
But not really.
I thought he did.
Very different.
Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, sorry, I'm sort of, here's me going blah, blah, blah. Have you read this before?
Yes.
You had?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
And you're right about that. I seem to remember that the first few arcs, in fact, most of the comic book, as far as I remember, is sort of independent stories of basically the boys turn up somewhere, find a superhero team that's roughly an allegory for another superhero team in comic books, whether that's Marvel or DC.
Yep.
Usually kill them all, and then that's it, basically. Huey learns a lesson or shits himself or gets spat on or something. Basically, something bad will happen to Huey as a comedy bit.
Yeah.
And then, like you say, all the characters will be much worse than they are in the TV show. To a point where Haley at one point went, "Oh, so is it toned down quite a lot from what we get in the show?" I said, "No, no." No, I did read this comic as it was coming out. I think I jumped in relatively early into it, and I read it as it was coming out because I liked some of Garth Ennis's other stuff. I liked his Preacher. He also wrote some very good Hellblazer. He also some of the best Punisher storylines out there. Depending on your feelings on the Punisher, obviously your mileage may vary on those, but I haven't revisited any of his other works recently for the same reason I wasn't really looking forward to revisiting The Boys, because I'm afraid it won't hold up to a modern standard or my sensibilities as a 33-year-old as opposed to when I was an early teenager. So, unlike those other works, I didn't particularly enjoy The Boys the first time around, I'll be honest. I read all of it because I wanted to see how it was end, but it was all a bit edgy with a capital E. It's shock value for shock value's sake. There's lots of stuff that just sort of happens and is thrown on there in these conversations that you don't want to be party to, but they're just there to try and get a rise out of the reader or show something shocking. They don't forward the plot.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy reading about Tech Knight that he can't stop putting his dick in things. And yeah, I thought it was more crude than funny.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have made a joke once, maybe twice about that, but it's like an ongoing arc.
Yeah.
It's like, it's pinnacle to a story.
It's about 3 issues, isn't it?
I'm like, well, why? And then all the things about people being gay, I'm like, you can probably tell this was written in 2000 and whatever.
6, 7,
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Rather than, if this comic came out now, I think people would be annoyed about it.
I think there was a bit of that at the time, and Garth Ennis is always one to try and push the envelope when it comes to these things. And this whole extended conversation between Huey and Butcher about homophobia and, you know, and what to call gay people. And it's almost like Garth Ennis's point here is that it doesn't matter what you call them as long as your feelings are in the right place. And it's like, well, no, that's not how, you know, like,
yeah.
That's Butcher's point, isn't it? Whereas Huey was shown to be the more homophobic of the two, whereas Butcher was just inappropriate. It was very... I get the feeling there's a lot of author insertion into that conversation, and it is, like you say, very dated by today's standard, and it is a whole arc based around that. And there's some very not subtle comparisons to Iraq War and things like that. Lots of other political things that were going on at the time, 2006, 2007. But yeah, there's lots of it that is just almost for shock value.
Yeah.
And the whole superheroes being evil thing is something that is a bit overdone.
Yep.
We talked about it in Wanted. I'm particularly bored of just evil Superman. It's the most boring premise. It's such a boring trope. I can't bother with it anymore. And this is why I prefer the TV show, because it does give some background for the character, and he distinguishes him from just being Superman. Whereas here in the comic book, he is very much, oh look, it's Superman, but he's evil.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah, I don't know. I just think whereas some of Ennis's other work, it has sex, it has violence, it has gore, it has the gross out stuff. It also always had strong, likeable characters. And I don't feel this does.
No.
I really struggle to give a shit about any of the characters here, even Huey, who, unlike the TV show, the TV show sort of makes him useful. Here he's a very one-note comedy put upon wet blanket character, and I just find every time he's there I just find myself getting bored or annoyed by him rather than sympathising.
Yeah. And the fact that he moves from Scotland to America to join the boys.
We should probably say, yes, he is Scottish in the comic book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little wee Huey, which, you know, something that you told me about ages ago was the fact that it's drawn to be like Simon Pegg.
Yep.
Which... yeah, that's probably why he was cast in the film, in the TV show, as his dad.
Yeah, it definitely was. I think he was asked about it before and he said, well, I'm too old now. So when they cast the show, they made him the dad instead. But also they made Jack Quaid is over 6 foot tall, so wee Huey doesn't work.
Yeah.
But I like that they made a joke about that with him being called Petit Huey by the Frenchman.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously making a joke about being over 6 foot tall. So there's definitely been a lot of liberties taken with the comic to the TV show. And I think by and large, they are for the better.
Improvements, yes. Yeah. There are scenes that are almost taken panel from panel, like Huey and Annie, they meet on that bench in the park.
Yep.
That's the same thing in the TV show, same thing in the comic.
Yes.
You know.
But what doesn't happen after that scene is Huey doesn't go back to his apartment and see blood-flecked sperm coming under his door.
Oh.
Is what happens immediately after that scene.
Yep.
Just to undermine it.
I thought you were going to say that she flew away because she can't fly in the TV show.
Oh, yeah.
She can in the comic.
She can.
There you go. Yeah, I thought, yeah, anyway.
No, mine was way grosser.
Classic you. You gross out comedy.
Well, that's what it all is. And the gerbil in the ass and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the texts, once I got the feel for it, I all just skimmed through it. It's like, I don't really want to know the ins and outs, details of what's happening. I can see it, thank you very much. I'll move on.
That's the problem, isn't it? It's like, when you don't like the characters and you're kind of grossed out by what's going on, you're kind of just like, I just want to know what the story is.
Yeah.
I want to know what the progression is. Because it's not a bad story, I suppose, which is why it's understandable they decided to adapt it. But it's just, for me, not especially enjoyable because don't like the characters.
Yeah, I mean, even with Butcher, he injects, I mean, you said earlier on about the boys use V to fight the Supes to even the odds.
Yeah.
He doesn't even ask Huey. He just turns around and goes, zap, there you go, done. You've now got V in you.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell? It's like, well, you know, if I'd asked you, you would have thought about it and taken a few days. Oh, okay, yeah, so that's a reason to do it.
But Butcher in general is we said about it being an arse in the show, but in the comic, even worse.
Massive dick, isn't he?
Absolutely awful.
Absolute arsehole.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, something that I wanted to ask you about the comic, because, like, well, I've just found out you've read all of it.
Yep.
Why does the Deep have a stupid costume in the comic? It looks like he's a diver. Got that old sort of classic helmet thing.
Sorry, you asked me why he has a stupid costume in the comic.
Yeah, I mean, it's comics. They're all stupid.
They've all got stupid outfits, and they've all got stupid outfits in the TV show as well.
Yeah, but the Deep in the show can breathe underwater. Does the Deep in the comic have any powers, or does he just wear an old diver's helmet suit thing?
No, I think he's got powers. Pretty sure he's got powers. I think that's just part of his branding.
Oh, well, it's stupid.
He's just the water-based superhero, but they gave him like an old-timey diving outfit to make it a bit more visually distinct. I liked it. I think it's a more interesting outfit than we get in the TV show, but they obviously made the TV show more like Aquaman.
Yeah.
Also, they didn't want a giant helmet on Chase Crawford, presumably. So
good looking.
And it wouldn't help them act.
Oh yeah, that. But yeah, something that I didn't quite like about it. Well, something else I didn't quite like about it.
Yeah.
Is the artwork changes for the last couple of issues.
Thank you.
And it put me off.
Yes, it does. So I said this was by Scott Derrickson, didn't I?
Yeah.
Sorry, no, I didn't. I said this was by Darick Robertson, didn't I?
Yes.
And
I don't know. You did.
And I think it actually is a different artist after a while, isn't it? Yeah. And the art is, shall we say, inconsistent.
Yeah.
There was one page, I think, where if you had told me Butcher was meant to be 3 different characters, I would have believed you. His face just changed completely between panel to panel. He looked like a big fat round man, and then a long guy, and then a thick guy. And it was like, they look nothing alike, these 3 characters that were meant to be the same person talking. I was like, okay. And I don't get why, because I think Darick Robertson, I think he drew Transmetropolitan, which is a comic I remember liking, but it's, again, one I haven't revisited lately, so maybe he does the same there. But, yeah, very inconsistent, I felt.
Well, it's funny that you mention his name, because both Darick Robertson and John McCrae, he's an artist or a pencilist or whatever you want to call him.
Probably not a pencilist.
They get whatever the term is, a penciler. Okay. Whatever it is, a pencilerist.
Sure. No, we'll go with it. Pencilist.
Yep. So, yeah, they get a shout out in one of the episodes when... Oh, someone we didn't actually talk about was Madeline.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we didn't.
Yeah, but yeah, so she's schmoozing some government types.
Yes.
And he says, oh, well, over there, Colonel Robertson and that guy called McRae. So their names do pop up in the show, which I think I always enjoy a little nod to them.
A little nod?
A little nod.
Is there another word for that kind of nod?
Reference.
A reference. Okay, great. Should we get on to conclusion?
Oh, I want to do my egg hunt.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, cue the music. Iain's egg hunt. Iain's egg hunt. Iain's egg hunt.
I'm not yoking you.
There's the
pause. Right, so something that didn't come up in conversation, which I thought it would, was Haley Joel Osment appears in this.
He does, yes.
As Mesmer, a telepath who can read minds. That's what telepaths do.
That is what
I
they
do
do.
like.
Yeah. It's not one of those other telepaths.
I do like that it was like a former kid TV star played by a former kid film star.
Yeah.
Nice little joke there. But he had a TV show in the TV show called The Mesmerer, I think it was, or something like that. And the font is the exact same font and colour of Law and Order.
Ah, okay. Never watched it.
That's an Easter egg, I guess, because they're both police dramas, law dramas. Yeah.
Yep.
There you go. There's actually a fair few things that are linked in with a comic, obviously it's based on.
Mm-hmm.
But in episode 5, at the God Expo or whatever it's called, Jesus Con,
That one, yeah.
whatever, there's like a board with a cartoon Homelander on it.
Yes.
Which the same style, I believe it's a homage to Hero Gasm issue 4, is a boys spin-off.
Yes, it was. Yes, Hero Gasm. So imagine everything about the comic book that we just talked about being over the top and giving it its own limited series focused just on that.
Oh, fantastic. I'm definitely going to read that.
Yep, Hero Gasm.
I mean, it's in the name, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of art from the comics reused for this, wasn't there?
Yeah.
A lot of the posters in Huey's room as well were like comic book style art, yeah.
I mean, obviously it's a TV show, not a film, so they will chuck in everything they've got pretty much. In every scene, there's probably going to be something there that you can see. I won't say all of them because that's not why we're here.
No.
But I do like that, as we've said, Huey is Simon Pegg in the comic.
Yes.
In the comic itself, so issue 1, after Huey's girlfriend dies or is killed, the Men in Black turn up and they get him to sign something.
Mm-hmm.
If you look in the background on the TV, there is a scene from Shaun of the Dead in it.
Oh.
It's the bit with the zombie outside the pub when they're like...
Yeah. I missed that. That's good.
That bit.
Yeah. Singing White Lines.
And you could call that an Easter peg.
You could. You definitely could.
But you probably won't.
No.
You're Captain No Fun. That'd be your name.
That's a good superhero.
Yeah, and something a bit daft as well. has the exact same mug in the comic and the TV show. Just says badass on it.
Yeah.
Which I do quite like. Also, other things that, not really eggs, but they've been picked up from the comic, is that Tech Knight is mentioned in episode 5, who appears in the comic, obviously.
He does.
And Starlight's ex-boyfriend is Drummer Boy.
Yes.
And he's in issue 6 as part of the Young Americans, I think it is.
Yeah, exactly. So this is like, in all the comics, there is a huge amount of references, and it's not always a straight one-to-one transition. So obviously Tech Knight is largely Iron Man, with a bit of Batman sprinkled in there, with the Boy Wonder and things like that. Or Batman with a bit of Iron Man sprinkled in. I don't know, however you want to do it. But there's little references to that, but they've cut most of the superheroes from the comic for the TV show. They've really sort of slimlined it down, but I suppose they can sprinkle them in as time goes on.
Yeah.
As we're seeing with the next series, where they've got your boy Soldier.
Your boy Jensen.
Your boy Jensen involved.
Yeah. Anyway, I do want to talk about the season 3 trailer, so what we'll do is we'll hop over to the conclusion, and then we'll hop over to any other business.
Sounds good. That's a lot of hopping, but let's do it. So, the TV show, Series 1, what were your thoughts?
Oh, fantastic. Highly recommend. Like I said, I love this sort of real world type superhero show.
Yeah.
I loved it with Daredevil, loved it with Heroes, at least season 1 when that came out.
Yeah.
I mean, it has been done.
Not thought about Heroes in years.
That's on it's on some sort of platform out there, and I really am tempted to go back to watch it.
It'll be disappointing.
I wouldn't watch Heroes Reborn though. That's terrible.
Okay. I never actually watched that one. Yeah.
Don't.
Fair enough. I won't.
Yeah, your views on the show?
I like the show, and I was surprised by how much I enjoyed rewatching it, actually. I think it's a pretty tight 8 episodes, something we've talked about with other TV series, particularly things like the Green Arrows, but also Daredevil and TV shows like that. They drag on a bit, always have 2 or 3 superfluous episodes that could have easily been cut. This, I think, a really tight 8 episodes works well.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the changes they made from the comic are for the better as well, just to give you a lot more investment in these characters and still keeping that edge to it, but without it being overdone.
Yeah, I reckon we're going to be the same thing on the comic.
Yeah.
But your view on the comic?
Well, I don't like it. It's not the worst thing I've ever read, but I just find that it's massively over the top, and it's a lot of the stuff I didn't like about Wanted, which you mentioned earlier, is that sort of gratuitous nature of it. I don't know. It's shock for shock value. Not a fan of the comic book. I think it has an interesting story, but it takes 60 issues to tell it, and it could have probably been done in 6.
Yeah.
You?
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. I was really excited to read it, and then I read it. I'm like, I'll just watch the show again.
Yeah.
This is one that, I mean, I always say things like, I'll probably read it. I'll pick it up again at some point. This one, I doubt I'll be going back to.
Yeah.
The first volume for me is enough.
And not going to recommend it, I take it as well?
Nah, probably not. I mean, if you like the TV show, just stick with the TV show.
This is the thing. I think there's definitely concessions that have to be made when adapting media. So, for instance, I watched Preacher as well, and that was adapted from a Garth Ennis work, and I still remember liking Preacher a lot, even though there's a lot of changes. But I would still say to someone that it's worth watching and worth reading, because they're different things. Like you say, I can only see The Boys TV show as a better version of this story.
Yeah.
So I kind of say, just watch the TV show, don't bother with the comic. But what was Kate's quick opinion of the show?
She said, it's bloody excellent and different to other comic book shows, which pretty much sums up what I was talking about as well.
Yeah, and this was, you said, her first time watching it.
First time, yeah.
So you're going to get to watch Series 2 before Series 3 drops?
Yeah, we were talking about this the other day, actually. She wants to go back to watch The Walking Dead, or I don't. And she said to me when we finished this off last night, are we going to watch more of this? Yes, we are, because I want to watch season 3.
Yeah.
But I'll watch season 2 with you and catch up so we can both watch season 3.
Now, I wouldn't get into Walking Dead any further if I were you, to be honest. It's 11 seasons now. It's a massive investment, and there's a huge patch in the middle where it is just rubbish. You know, I am only watching it because of, as you said before, the sunk cost fallacy, where you're thinking, I put so much time into this now, I might as well see how it ends.
Exactly.
The same as I did when reading The Boys. But hey, that's it for The Boys, I think, although not quite, am I right in saying? So, any other business?
Yeah, have you heard they're doing a 3rd season?
What?
How dare they?
No, yeah. We've mentioned it several times in the show. Of course I've heard, yeah.
I'm assuming you've had a chance to watch the trailer?
I did, yeah. I watched it once very quickly when you said, hey, should we talk about the trailer? I went, oh, yes, okay.
Yeah, I can't wait for Jensen to come into this. I'm still watching Supernatural. Just want to chuck in a little Supernatural update quickly. I'm just about to finish season 9. I've got literally 1 episode left to watch. And I realised that I'd only watched up to season 8. So I'd watched the season 8 finale way back when. So I'm now in new territory.
Ooh. Because you said several times that you had watched up to series 9.
Yeah.
So
I apparently
just lying.
I was lying to you.
Okay.
I was lying to make friends, and I didn't make friends.
No.
I was just lying.
No.
But yeah, anyway, so I think the trailer looks really good. Like we've said, it looks like they're doing the Compound V storyline with Butcher.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I will say is that the wig that they've got for Soldier Boy looks ridiculous. I hope it looks more realistic when it comes to watching the show.
Yeah.
Or it might have just been that one scene where he gets out of that sort of cabinet thing. Very much the Captain America of the group.
Yes. That's right, yeah. And maybe the wig doesn't stick around long, who knows. Yeah, no, I think it looks fun. There's a lot of stuff happening in that trailer. Lots of little glimpses, things you spot in the comic books. Definitely seem to be doing the Compound V storyline. And we'll see where that goes. I don't know how many series they're planning on doing of this, or seasons they're planning on doing this. Do you...
It was, 85 issues, something like that?
It never was 80. I thought it was about 60.
I thought I read it was 83, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, 72, actually. You're right. Jesus.
72,
yeah.
wow, there you go. Yeah, so, well, I mean, the first, I'd say, 6 issues is roughly season 1.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they could do a lot of these. They could do up to like 6 seasons or something daft.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't make it. I'm not part of the crew.
I suppose, yeah, but they've already packed a lot into the first 2 seasons that were across the storyline. I doubt very much they're going to go, hey, let's go to Russia and do this weird fill-in story.
Well, they won't be doing that now.
No, definitely not.
Anyway, we're not a political podcast.
Yeah. On that note, have you got any other
business?
Any other business?
Yeah, so to answer your question about if they're doing any more or how many they're doing, they've obviously done The Boys Presents Diabolical.
They have, yes.
So
it's obviously making money for them, so they're going to churn out as much as possible.
If they don't want to continue the actual live action show, then they can continue this. And I do like it. I wanted to talk about it very quickly.
Sure.
It's, 20 minutes long?
Oh, if that. I think they're about 10, 15 minutes long. They're really short, aren't they? Yeah.
10, 15. Each episode's its own thing. So if you wanted to, you could hop around.
If you wanted to, but what's that got to do with the boys?
And you got all these... Captain No Fun strikes again. But yeah, so I'm assuming you've watched all of them. Anyone sort of stand out?
Like a lot of these anthology shows, they're very inconsistent in terms of quality when you have different writing teams, production studios, styles. There's 8 episodes, I think, or 10 episodes, something like that.
8.
Same as the main series then. And yeah, I mean, there's a couple of duds in there, but most of them are all right. The ones I'd say that stood out to me, I liked the second to last episode with the lady with cancer.
John and Sunhee.
Yes. Yeah, I liked that change of pace for something that's quite irreverent and quite comedy-driven to then have that more serious, down-to-earth episode. I think worked really well, and positioning it where they did was good. Mm-hmm. There's some that were funnier, some that were less funny, some are more comedy-driven. So there's the one where the kids all go and kill their parents, and the one with the poo I didn't like particularly. I thought that was a weird episode.
Did you know that was voiced and written, I think, by Awkwafina?
I did see Awkwafina, yeah, I did see that.
Awkwafina, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Awkwafina is just the brand of bottled water. But,
sorry. The person from Shang-Chi, there you go.
Awkwafina. Yeah, I did know that, because she's got quite a distinctive voice, but that was probably my least favourite episode, I would say. And then there was that one where they had the gel that turned them into handsome people, and I quite like that, because that felt like an episode of Black Mirror.
That's my exact note, that is. My exact note. That's literally, episode 4, Boyd in 3D. If you like the Black Mirror stuff and you don't want to watch all of this, I would definitely watch episode 4.
Yeah. You can watch isolated episodes. What I think a good anthology series does well is play with different genres.
Yeah.
And play with different styles. If it was all just the same style as the TV show, the main TV show, I would say don't bother. Just watch the main TV show. But I like that it can play up with the conventions. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, you covered a couple of ones that I liked, which was The Boyd in 3D.
Yep.
I enjoyed episode 1. It was a good sort of easy episode to get into it, because you're watching it and it's a Looney Tunes style animation. It's the Laser Baby's Day Out.
Yes.
Which I thought was funny. I don't think anyone talks in it either. So it's just a nice little fun episode. And you kind of get introduced into this world and you feel like it fits in the universe of, I could see this happening in real life in the show, in live action.
Yeah, and I liked it did really play into that sort of really traditional American cartoon.
Yeah.
Again, a different style.
Yeah, I liked episode 3, I'm Your Pusher, which Simon Pegg actually did voice Huey.
Right, yeah.
And that's the one that's drawn very much like the comics.
And written by Garth Ennis, that one, wasn't it?
Yeah. So that was about a guy called OD, who's a drug dealer, supplies V to Vort's superheroes.
His name's OD and he's a drug dealer.
Yeah, I like it.
Clever. That's the subtlety of writing we get in the comic as well.
Episode 8 is Homelander's early days with the Seven. I think it's his first mission.
Yeah.
And apparently, I don't know how true this is, apparently that's canon to the TV show.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it makes sense because it is very set firmly within the TV show's world. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I doubt it will ever come up in the TV show.
No, yeah. I mean, they've already covered it, so that's it. Done. Apparently there's a different spin-off as well coming. I don't know enough about it to tell you, but...
I was going to say, I remember an announcement, and I didn't pay it any attention at the time because I thought, why? But, yeah, I was going to say, is there another spin-off they're doing?
Yeah, I don't know what it's called, but there is something. We could look it up, but I can't be bothered.
The Boys, The Quest for More Money.
The Boys... The Quest for More Boys.
That's a different show entirely.
That sounds wrong.
Are we done?
I think we're done.
On that note then, that's all for this episode. Thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed it, then why not give us a cheeky little subscribe? And next episode, we're enrolling into the Umbrella Academy, which should tell you 2 things. 1, we're not very good at scheduling, as it means we're having to watch 2 8 to 10 hour seasons back to back. And 2, the Umbrella Academy is returning to Netflix for season 3. To mark the occasion, much like this episode, we're revisiting the first season of the show, as well as the first volume of the comic book, Apocalypse Suite, by Gerard Way and Gabrielle Barr.
No way!
Yes, Way. Gerard Way.
Thank you for listening, and remember, you guys are the real heroes. And this here is a podcast about comic books and their adaptations.
Oh, wait, that's my line.
Sorry.
We can swap if you want.
And
this here is a comic book about comic... Sorry, no, it isn't.
Is this bit... Yeah, this bit's still in the thing.
This is you. That's the J.
Yeah, no, and it's still in the voice, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Go on, blimey, blah, blah, blah.
Apples and pears.
As you can tell by... But I can't do it. Say it for me, and I'll copy you.
As you can tell by our pitch perfect Cockney accents, this week we are talking about The Boys Season 1. It's something. It's there's at least one joke in there.